Alright, so we need to gain access so that we can mount our bias valve and run our lines. So this plastic engine cowling or under cowling needs to come out. So we're going to take that off. There's a few of these little deals here that you just turn half a turn. They're up here too. So we'll get these going. That's going to expose your cabin air filter, and behind the cabin air filter are some bolts back there that we're gonna have to pop off, and then also our harness runs across here, so we'll have to open this up and pull the harness out of this runner that it runs in, and that should give us enough access to where we can get down in here. So I'm gonna use both my hands and just basically take this off and get it unmounted from back in here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so once you get those bolts out, they're a T30 by the way, then that whole thing just kind of rolls towards you and out of there, and then you've got one of those little you turn that half a turn or a quarter turn, it'll come out, and then you got this one. This one's being difficult, but it is loose, so I'll probably have to get a pry tool behind that, and then you're going to take off, you just lift up this rubber trim piece here, and then all of these will just slide up and out of the way. And then once we get this off, then this piece here should slide up and out of the way as well. Now it's out of there, we can get down to the area that we're trying to get to here. That's accessing these lines back here. Sorry, having a hard time with the light there. I did pop the booster line out and just kind of wiggle it out carefully. Be careful not to mess up this grommet right here, but it will come out of there so that you can get all that out. So this is what it looks like with that cowling out of there. Comes out pretty simple, probably takes maybe 5 or 6 minutes to get out of there, so don't be intimidated when you look underneath there. Pretty easy to get out so that we can access everything that we're trying to access. So down here, right on that stud that you see right in the middle of the screen there, that is where our bias valve is designed to sit. In this car, we have a DSC pump down here, part of the traction control ABS system, I believe. In order for this bias valve kit that we're installing to be installed, that has to go. So this whole pump needs to come out of there. If you had some longer lines, you might be able to relocate it. I was kind of thinking about relocating it out here or something like that. The lines in the kit are designed specifically to put it on that stud down there. Being that this is going to be a track car, the traction control is not going to be functional and used anyway, so we're going to be deleting that pump unit down there. So we're going to have to disconnect here. Sorry, this thing is having a hard time focusing. So we're going to disconnect here and plug that, and then this line that comes off the back, as you can see right there. Alright, it's not focusing on me, but there's a port coming right off the bottom of the master that it feeds into. So that has to be disconnected. We have to find a plug for that bottom port. Your car may or may not have that pump in it. Not all of them do. So if it doesn't, no big deal. In this case, we are going to have to remove that. So as far as the lines go, just to give you a quick tour, so you've got 2 ports coming off the side over here on the driver's side of this pump, of this master cylinder. So this rear port is going to feed our in on the bias valve here, so it's going to go into the in line there, and the out line is going to go to our hydro handbrake. If you weren't doing a hydro handbrake, they include a fitting that takes this out and connects over into the hard lines that feed, I think they're down here, yeah, right there. They connect into those hard lines that feed into the back two brake calipers. So, or excuse me, the back two. The front port here is going to be teed off, and we're going to split and run our own lines to the front two. Should I get that to focus? There we go. So that's going to be teed off, and it's going to run to the front two brake calipers. So basically you have front and rear in such orientation. So the front one goes to the front, the rear one goes to the rear. And we'll start plumbing it, and I'll kind of show you how it looks. Because we're doing a hydro handbrake with a pass-through kit, it's kind of two kits in one, so yours may be a little different. If you're doing the exact same thing I'm doing, then it will look the same, obviously. So, but yeah, we're gonna start working on getting that DSC pump out of there. So we're gonna basically just disconnect the two lines that go to it, and then there's a bracket. It looks like I can see one bolt right down there that's holding it in, so we'll hit that and see if we can't get that thing loose. DSC box is out. Make sure you have a rag or something, or a container. Very tight space, it's difficult to get a container in there, but you're gonna spill some brake fluid, so just have some brake clean or a rag. I stuffed a rag underneath everything just to catch as much as I could. My system was already drained because I have the rear calipers disconnected for the hydro brake install. If not, make sure you drain your brake system before you attempt this. So that box is out of there. It just is held in. There's two studs down there, and just that one bolt that's over there that holds that thing in. So the 10 mil, you can come straight down through here and hit it. One of these spots, you'll be able to see it. And then that line on the bottom there, I don't have a plug handy. I went down to the store and they didn't have any brake line style flare plugs, so I cut the line that was coming off of that unit. I'll show you that unit here. So I cut this line. I used a pair of tin snips, cut that line, gave myself some space, and then I just used my welder and I just tack welded the end of it shut so that it's airtight, and use that as a plug. So the bottom of the master is now plugged. We'll see if we can get a better view here. So she's plugged. I tried to put a little paint on it to help out. So it's plugged now. We're ready to mount our bias valve, and I'll put a little hose clamp or something on this as well. But and this is a big vacuum plug, silicone vacuum plug that I had, so to plug that feed line. So we're gonna mount our bias valve to that nut and stud right there that holds this master on, and then we can start running our lines from there. So I just kind of want to show you how I routed everything. So down here we've got our bias valve. In is coming from the back port on this. I had an extra 90 left over from the hydro kit that I didn't use, so, and it was pulling on that line pretty tight, so I added a 90 there. Not 100% necessary, but it gave it a little bit more slack. So that's the in. The out can't really see, but there you can kind of see it right there. That goes to the handbrake. Now up here we've got our T-fitting. See if we can get eyes on it there. So we've got our T-fitting, And the one coming off closest to the firewall runs, it's this line here. I ran it under the bias valve and up, and there's an unused grommet in the shielding that sits right here that I drilled a hole in, and that will sit in that shielding, pass through, and then I ran it back down and then up. See if I can get it to focus there. And it follows the factory brake line, so it goes under the heater core lines, back along the firewall right there. I've got it attached. I still got to trim my zip ties. Comes over here. I went ahead and tucked it behind to follow along with the other lines there, and keep it away from these AC lines, so it's not touching back there. It's kind of pressed into that corner, and then it comes down and passes through right there. The other one comes out right here, passes through that, and then passes through down. It's hard to get an angle, but there's a similar pass through right down there that it passes through, and each of those comes out and attaches on each side in the front. Okay, so we're all the way back together now. Just to give you an idea of how that looks. So you can reach your hand right down that cubby right there and adjust your bias valve. Having a hard time getting her to focus there, but you get the idea. Bled the brakes, checked for leaks. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that you have to bench bleed your handbrake. So excuse the mess, but basically what I did for the handbrake was I just put the in and the out hoses into the same bottle and pumped it a bunch until I got fluid circulating. And what that does is just prime the brake. And then once you get all your lines ran, the way that I did it was I just gravity bled the front two. So I just cracked them open and made sure that it was topped off, got fluid out there. And then for the rear, I had to put a vacuum pump, or you could use a vacuum line in your mouth or whatever, but just to get that fluid pulled to the back of the car. And then got it bled, started at the back passenger, driver's passenger, passenger front, and then driver's front with a helper, pressing on the brake and doing a normal mechanical bleed. Don't touch the handbrake at all during the bleeding process, and then once it's done being bled, the handbrake functions. And let me show you what that looks like here. So now we've got some tension. Sorry, don't have a good view here, but now we've got some tension. You can feel the tension on the handbrake. Still got to put the interior back together, but excited to go test that out. Thanks for watching.